I get a lot of questions about the 300. Mostly people trying to buy it because they realize I don't really ride it a whole lot because I'm pretty busy with the faster stuff these days. And it's mostly because I'm riding at Holopau, which is where I live closest to, and you got to cover a lot of ground to get to the good mud. And this is not really the machine to cover a lot of ground on. Yeah, it rides good, but it's still, you know, a 300 solid rear axle. It's, you know, a little stiff, a little bouncy, a little underpowered. So yeah, people keep trying to buy it, and I keep telling them that they can't afford it. But they still keep trying to buy it. So I'm gonna give you a little walk around information. We're gonna start at the top and work our way down. So the top, this is a Snorkel. It's a Stealth Snorkel flex pipe. The reason I did flex pipe was because these fenders are in really good shape. Yeah, they're dirty, but I didn't want to cut holes in these plastics because they're getting more and more rare, and this one was super cherry. The flex pipe comes down there, comes through here. It's sleeved to protect it from heat, and then it goes into the air box, and it's all 100% watertight. You can't see it right here or anything. Routed very nicely. Vent lines are all underneath this heat shrink on here, gas tank, carburetor, diffs, etc. So it's all sealed up pretty dang good. The other vent lines are under this heat shrink. You can kind of see where they come up right here. Next thing we'll have is the extremely rare and sought after wide open 424 switch out. I actually have a rebuild kit for it too, which comes with a new plunger and cable and seals. I grabbed that because I knew these things were going to disappear, and I was right. So I have one of the only ones around that's probably in good shape. This thing's pretty cherry. This one's been on here very long. You can't buy those right now, so that's pretty much worth its weight in gold. That actuates this guy, which is the drive shaft disconnect. They're like 500 bucks when they're around. I don't know what they're worth now. Going down to the front end, we've got the Rancher 420 shock swap mod. It's a really good lift, rides good, pretty good dampening. Axles are stock. That boot is not actually busted. It's just looks like that. It's been like that since I bought it. This thing was very cherry. Bought it from an older gentleman who'd used it around his property, 1997. Have title for it and everything. This cable is for this 4x4 switch out. It has the factory front brakes on it. They still work a little bit. They need to be adjusted. You could do a disc brake kit. It's all there. And as far as that, the front end stock, except for the most important mod this thing has, which is in here, which is the torque locker. So this has the amazing torque locker. So this is not a 3-wheel drive 300, it is 4-wheel drive. The way it works is when this is in the out position, it's in 2-wheel drive. The front end is freewheels, it's like a ratcheting, can't even tell it's there. When you engage it, it's pretty much a full locker, and this thing is full-time 4-wheel drive and will put a lot of machines to shame. As you can see, the front bumper and everything's very cherry. This thing's never been pushed out a lot of bikes or anything like that. Come around to the engine. The engine is all stock, except for 54% gear reduction and a 400EX pumper carburetor. OEM, brand new carburetor. Feels very good on your thumb. Very smooth action carburetor. The accelerator pump comes in handy. These bikes are all a little cold-natured. And when you do this carburetor swap, the best thing to do is a choke delete because your Snorkel gets in the way of the choke anyways. So to start it, you just give her a few squirts. That's your choke. And then she fires up. Of course, because it's got the 54% gear reduction, it has the start and gear mod, so the neutral light is always on. That's because you have to ground the neutral wire when you do the 54% gear reduction because there's no room for the switches. Come around to the back, it has a custom swing arm stretch. A very beefy swing arm, and it's set up for 2.5-inch stretch using a solid drive shaft. There's a secret to that. If you know me, I might have told you, but it's my secret. But yeah, solid drive shaft, no welds in there. And then we've got a 300EX shock, rides real nice. Custom bracket that mounts the shock down low beneath the swing arm a little bit, and that keeps the down travel perfect for the U-joint. Then we've got a very beefy axle paddle, a 350D rear end, which is also getting really rare, brake delete, and a truss to make up for the fact that we removed this part of the tube for the axle paddle. This diff seals are okay. I haven't greased it. I've just been changing the gear oil in it. You can see it's actually snorkeled still because that diff's actually been holding up pretty good. Eventually I would put a grease zerk on the cap and a grease zerk on the tube. Obviously a lot of wheel spacers to get it even because these are IRS wheels and they actually need to be very wide because they're high flotation setup. My fender flares are starting to crack a little bit. You can see here that little lip flipped off. There's a few little cracks back here. The fender flares were perfect when I got it. It's really just actually that corner and this right here that started to started to crack, just because, you know, it's a 1997. But they're still mostly intact. They could be tuned up a little bit. And as far as the engine, it doesn't have a big bore kit or anything like that. It's still all stock cam and everything like that. Never been into 100% original. I just put a new battery in it, a couple of things like that. But other than that, it's all stock. Very smooth running machine. It's just, you know, it's a 300. So if you go through a lot of holes one after another, it's great. But to ride it 30 minutes, to get to a mud hole, to ride for another 30 minutes, it's not really the right machine for that, unless you're a young man with a young man's back.